There is no question that if you're watching this video, you want to be working until 60, 65, 70, 75, God knows what age it will be when you finally can retire, when you hit that age. There is no question that you are here and you do not want to fall into that trap, especially being stuck in an office for that amount of time. The 9 to 5 is a killer for so many, me included. Into this trap because money and life and everything like that, responsibilities. But there has to be a better way to escape that 9 to 5 and make a living in a different way. If you had an idea, especially in the digital age where you have to create something, you'd have to be a developer or hire a developer, which costs a ton of money. But today that is simply not the case. There are so many tools available that allow you and myself, as what I would class as a generalist. I'm not a super technical person. I cannot develop things. So if I have an idea and want to develop it, I simply can't do that because I need to employ someone else to do it. But the barrier to stop you doing that now with these no-code tools is so much lower. If you have an idea and you want to release a product and mean that you can make money in a completely different way, you can without having to have that monetary overhead or that technical barrier to entry through these no-code tools. A particular one that I'm exploring at the moment is Bubble, because Bubble literally allows you to do anything. Like, it is, I would say, like the Canva for developing. You can just create anything you want and release it into the world, whether it's a website, whether it's a mobile app, it doesn't matter. And it's all very learnable for generalists like you and I. My goal of this series is to show you that it is physically possible as a generalist to release something with the aim to make money in a different way. Because I cover a lot of things about using your money better, but I also want to cover the thing that I love, which is trying to make money in a different way that isn't sat in front of a desk 9 to 5 in really long meetings for no reason. This series will cover me attempting to build my own no-code product and launch it into the world. In the next video, I will cover all of this from design to launch. I've already started doing it, but first I wanted to show you what is possible through other people that have done it already. So today I'm interviewing Katt from No Code Exits. She has a website called No Code Exits, which shows you all of the people that have built and sold their no-code solutions. So you can get inspiration from them to see all of these other hundreds and thousands of people in the world in the no-code space that have and do make a living purely without having to learn to code in the first place. I'm super grateful to have Katt here to tell her story as a non-technical founder, someone who has built things with no code and showcase the fact that literally anyone can build something and make a living from building things without having to be a technical founder. So thanks very much for being here, Katt, and I'm really looking forward to understanding how you got started in this, what made you think about doing this in the first place, and what your journey's been like through the process.
Thanks for having me. Really excited to share my story.
Yeah, so how did it first start? So what's your background? Because I think that's one of the big things. It's like a lot of people think that you have to have a certain background, and I think that isn't true these days. But yeah, I'd love to
Yeah.
know what your background was and how you got into no code in the first place.
Yeah, so my background is that I studied digital marketing. So I always had this interest in things digital. But yeah, in marketing, it's often that you have like these experts. So you have the SEO expert, you have the email newsletter expert, the conversion expert. But I always felt more like a generalist. And that's also why I was always attracted to entrepreneurship, because in entrepreneurship it's like all these different skills that you can use instead of being pushed in this little corner of this is your task and that's the only thing you have. So yeah, I always had an interest in startups and in maybe one day starting my own thing. But it was it took a long time for me to really do it. So I was just reading a lot of business books. I was listening to entrepreneur podcasts, lurking on the Indie Hackers forum where yeah, I could read a lot of inspiring stories, um, but never really taking action.
I think it's hard though, isn't it?
Uh,
Because I think there's so much information out there these days that it's like, where
yeah,
do I start?
yeah, yeah. It was already really cool that I found a place like Indie Hackers because before that, yeah, there was like the only way was like starting a startup, finding funding, stuff like that. And that seemed even more difficult to do that, especially as a generalist. If you are a developer or you are you have like a really specialized skill, I think it's maybe easier to find a team to do that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just kept lurking. There were a few attempts with friends, but they always failed. It was like, oh, we brainstormed for a cool idea. It had to be a cool idea. Not we didn't start from a problem or something like that. We just
yeah,
brainstormed. Then we started to create a cool logo and mock-ups and wireframes, and then most of the time it already stopped because none of us were technical. And then if you don't start from a problem, yeah, you also feel that it's difficult to bring it to market.
yeah.
So completely the wrong approach.
But lots of good lessons
So
in that as well,
yeah,
I suppose.
yeah. But I never realized it until now later, when now I'm really doing it myself. Now I can see what I did wrong then, but then it didn't, yeah, occur to me. I think I still had to learn too much or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
That yeah, that it's important to start from a problem and to start small and skip the fancy stuff in the beginning and focus on a core feature, or um, instead of the fun design stuff, or I don't know,
Yeah, what my
the
company's going to
features that,
be, that whole, yeah,
yeah,
it's that whole thing, like you said, the logo. Everyone's like, I need my branding to be on point.
yeah,
But what?
yeah,
But does your company solve a problem? Like,
yeah, yeah,
so what was the
yeah.
thing that then made you jump from that to finally doing your own thing?
Um, it was during my work as a project manager in marketing, that I discovered no code. It was the tool Softer, which helps you to build web apps on top of your Google Sheets or
Cool.
Airtable data. And I was working at a European tourism company, and it was during COVID. We had a huge challenge. There were all these safety regulations, where when you did an activity, you had to, you had stupid regulations like only 4 persons of the same family in one space. It was right behind COVID, so everything was opening up again, but with these crazy rules to try to, yeah, keep space between people. And that was a challenge for our company because we had these tourism accommodations where you could do activities like a big swimming pool, like bowling, like escape rooms, stuff like that. And our customers had, of course, thousands of questions. We have more than 200 accommodations in Europe, so you can imagine what it was for our customer call center. They
Yeah,
were flooded with calls. People were complaining. They had to wait for hours to get an answer. Yeah, it was crazy. So the digital team where I was part of tried to make a web page where we could communicate all these um, regulations on one page, so that people knew what to expect when they went to one of our accommodations. Um, and the solution was to do it in a PDF because we have a lot of accommodations. But that's terrible on mobile. It was difficult to have a quick overview of what was possible, and it was really it was terrible to update because the regulations changed every week.
Yeah, I bet.
We have eight languages, so we had to update it in eight languages. Um, it was our team was the motivation was so low. It was terrible work.
So as an
So
MVP,
then I
you're like,
discovered,
yeah, this is the problem I need to solve, but this isn't definitely not the best way to do it.
yeah, yeah. And then I discovered software, and um, I put all our destinations, activities, regulations in an Airtable base, and I made a web app out of it. And it's really easy to use software. I think I had it ready in a few hours.
Wow. And that's
I
having
sent
no
it to,
experience using anything like that either.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
indeed. It was the first time I used it. I chatted with the customer support, and they helped me to get an HTML code so that we could embed it in our website. And then I sent it to my manager, and they were like, "Whoa, this is what we need."
This isn't a PDF.
And yeah, so we put it live immediately. Um, and I set up the Airtable base so that you only had to do the updates one time in one language, and it was all done for every language. So
Wow.
from that moment when there was a press conference about a new regulation, someone from our team could do it behind the television, just tick in Airtable the changes, and it was updated. And it saved us a lot of work, and we kept using it for I think 2 years.
Wow.
And for me it was an eye opener. Like, whoa, I built this little
Yeah.
solution myself, and it solved really a problem for our team, but also for our customers. And that's when I was hooked.
That's really cool.
Maybe an
That's probably one of the
interesting
first, like a really good example of where a product, like you said, like was used for 2 years. Like that's such an
yeah
incredible thing that solving a
yeah
problem is so
yeah
important.
yeah
And but also I think going
yeah
through that process of solving a problem badly, as in the PDF, and knowing how people needed that. So it was clearly the problem,
yeah
but at the same time, it was just you couldn't sustain it, like it wasn't scalable in that way. And so I think
Yeah,
that's a really
no.
cool
And
way of seeing it.
also interesting is that, of course, we asked our engineering team to create a solution for that. But it were difficult times. They had budget cuts, and they had other priorities as always. So
Yeah.
they said, yeah, we can do that. It can be ready in maybe 6 to 8 months. So we were like,
Wow.
okay, no, we can't wait for that.
That's
Um,
crazy. And
yeah,
just and,
yeah.
and you managed
So
to do something
yeah.
in a few hours and make that possible.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah, and that's really the power of no code, I think. And
Yeah.
it makes totally sense that engineering team has other priorities, like working on our apps to increase revenue more, stuff like that, instead of these internal tools that are never a priority, I
Yep.
think, or not in our company.
I think
Um,
that's common. But I also think they
yeah,
have different, like the challenges within bigger companies as well is that they have their engineering practices and stuff like that. They follow certain best practices in terms of their code, and they'll be like, oh, we must do it in a certain way or whatever, and that
yeah,
just creates time. And so
yeah,
it just by its nature of the business, it's very hard to
yeah,
make it more
yeah.
quicker.
Yeah, and also because I was kind of the user myself, I exactly knew what we needed. I also know the product well, because a problem often with our engineering team is that they are far away from the product.
Yeah,
So it also helped in going much more quickly than if you have to ask someone else to make it for you.
yeah, definitely. The feedback loop's a lot shorter there, isn't it? You can
Yeah,
be your own
indeed.
feedback
Yeah,
loop basically.
yeah,
Wicked. So you did this one for the company, and then was that,
yeah.
like you said, that was you hooked, and then What then
Yeah,
took you to your own?
that was the end of 2021, I think. And then, yeah, I wanted really to learn more about no code. So um, I followed the no code bootcamp, the 100 days of no code bootcamp is the name.
Oh,
And
cool.
I was able to, that my work paid for it.
Oh, that's
So
even
that was
better.
fun. And it was useful, of course. I was also part of the innovation team, so with that hook, it was possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, during the no code bootcamp, the goal is you get all these sessions from expert where you learn lots of different tools. You learn all the basics about no code, like databases, APIs, automations, everything you need to create a decent app, some design principles, stuff like that.
But it's possible
And
to do
the end,
not as a generalist. So you don't, because I think if people hear like databases, APIs, and things like that, could be quite daunting. They'd be like, well, I don't even know where I would start on that. But was it quite easy to understand from a generalist,
yeah,
non-technical
indeed,
point?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because also me, totally no technical background. If you said the word API to me, I would run the other way. But they make it really accessible and in a way that you understand why you need it to build certain products. You can also keep it simpler, of course. But
Oh,
it's
that's
good.
amazing.
It are good basics to get started. So it really helped me.
And what sort of
And
different no-code tools did they teach? Because obviously you mentioned the tool that you used to build
yeah,
your first product. Did they have did they go through multiple different types of tools and solutions you could use for no-code?
yeah. It's Notion, because Notion is basically kind of an app to build your own personal apps, like
Yeah.
dashboards and to do lists customized for yourself. Then also Zapier to automate everything. Um, Softer is more for web apps, and then it's also more. So I already use Softer, but when you get it from an expert, you learn more all of these little hacks and also more about user accounts, a little bit more advanced. Um, and Softer Adello to build a mobile app,
Oh, nice.
and that was it, I think. Yeah, and now they are also doing a lot about AI. Um, so it's really a, a good learning experience, I think.
Oh,
It
wicked.
was also what really was fun was that I always had this interest in entrepreneurship, etc. My friends don't really understand. They have other interests, which is perfectly okay. But it was really fun to become part of this group
Yeah.
of people who were like geeking out on the same and following the same people on Twitter, or if I talked about Peter Levels, the famous indie hacker, they knew who he was, and that was also really really fun for me after these years of lurking, finally really connecting with people. And
I think
yeah,
it gives you a buzz as well,
um,
doesn't it? It like gives you a bit more energy
yeah,
to keep you going and motivates you to
yeah,
want to do more.
that's
I think that's
really
what I found.
important, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
And
if I would have done it on my own, I would maybe have lost motivation after a while. It gets
yeah.
lonely, and now, yeah, it was, yeah, you make friends, and that's so fun, and
Yeah,
it
I do
really
think
helps.
community is super important in this, like you said, for that motivation
Yeah,
to keep you going, seeing little wins. I think being part of these conversations and stuff, I think I learn way more as well. Like I listen to things like, oh, that's a really interesting thing. And to be
yeah,
challenged as well, like I think that's good because otherwise we're in this kind of own bubble of our own. And if our
yeah,
friends and people around us don't truly get what we're on about, they could just be like, it's like the mum test. You say to your mum like, "Oh, do you like my idea?" And they're like, "Yes, dear, that's great." And you're like, "Wicked,
Oh, it's
it's
awesome.
amazing." There's no one to tell you like, "Yeah, but what about this?" Like that, I don't really understand that. Like, so if you just build it on your own, yeah, I think it's much harder to learn and to grow and and massively for the motivation. So I think
Yeah,
that's one of the best things that I've found about this is just having that community around.
yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, you also have a lot of doubts when you're working on your own, and it's so nice if you have some people you can reach out to for some advice or their take on it.
And sometimes you just need
Um,
that little boost. You know what I mean? When you think
yeah,
like it might not
yeah,
be, you're on like this level for a while and you kind of think, oh, I haven't had a little spike. I need a little spike. And sometimes you can just get
yeah,
that from the community and you're like, okay, I can carry on now. That's keeping me going. So I think that's
yeah,
important.
indeed. Yeah.
And so,
So
so
I was
you did your
telling,
boot camp. Yeah.
yeah, and the goal there was to build your own MVP. So an MVP is the first minimal version of a product. That was the ultimate goal during the bootcamp. So there were some build weekends that you really had to block your calendar and go all in on that idea so that at the end you could present something to the group.
Nice.
And my little product was No Code Guru. It was kind of a chatbot, but this was before AI, so then it was impressive
A lot
then. If you
harder
now
back
see
then.
it, it's like, yeah, yeah. And you could chat to it to ask, I want to build a no-code app that can do this and this and this, which is the best tool for that? Because if you just start with no code, the tool
Yeah.
landscape is overwhelming, and it's a question that I saw returning a lot. So I thought, let me build something simple for that. And yeah, it was really fun to make it. And after a while, I also launched it on Product Hunt, which was also a huge milestone for me because I had been on the website checking out everything for
Yeah.
years. And then my little product was also on there, so that was exciting.
How was that experience?
Um,
It's something that I'm looking to do as a part of this series. I want to build my own. In fact, I'm in the process of building my own no code solution myself that will be then launched on Product Hunt. So I'm interested, like, how was that experience for you?
it was also one of those motivation boosts that really kept me going. I hadn't a lot of Twitter followers back then, I think a few hundred. Um, I had, of course, the little group of the No Code Bootcamp I was part of, and I think I made it in top 10, which was really
That's
impressive for me
incredible. Yeah,
because I
yeah.
was afraid like I'm only going to get 5 votes or something like that. But yeah, I really got in top 10, and so many, yeah, nice reactions from people supporting you. Yeah, it was really, I had a warm feeling after that day, and
Oh, that's
um,
fantastic.
it's also, yeah, gave me another boost of
I think that's an
motivation.
important thing as well. Like you said, just that you
Yeah,
didn't have a large audience. I think that's something that comes up all the time. It's like, well, of course you did okay because you had a lot of people that would either
yeah.
boost it up
But
or
yeah, the
whatever.
bootcamp were 30 persons. So,
Yeah. So it's not
but
like
yeah, if they
you started with
support
this
your
huge audience to
tweets,
sell to or whatever.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and on Twitter, they supported my tweet, and then it gets some more visibility, and
Yeah,
other people
that's
reply and
incredible.
support you. So yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really amazing.
So you launched on Product Hunt.
But
It
yeah,
was
I still kept working on it a little bit, but yeah, it was a free product, and I kept hearing about those acquisition platforms. Um, And I had a new idea to make maybe a product around that, but I had to do some research first. So I listed No Code Guru on acquire.com and um, did my
if
research, forget
anyone that doesn't
about
know
it.
though, acquired.com is the platform that you can sell your products on. I think
Yeah,
there are a couple. There's like Flipper and things like that, but acquire.com you can go on
yeah,
there and literally list the product you've built, whether it's no code or not, and people can pay for
yeah,
that if they want to build it into something bigger or whatever that might be.
yeah, indeed. Um, so I listed it in there, forgot about it, got a few people who were interested but never really serious. And then a few months later, in August, I got someone contacted me on Twitter, and they were seriously interested, and yeah, it got acquired for 3.5K. So it's not life-changing money. I don't have
No,
a
but it's
private jet
something.
yet,
You, no,
but
but
it
that's
was
something you
huge.
built as a
It was
part
huge for me.
of the
Yeah,
boot camp. I think that's that validation, like you say. It's like you built this
yeah,
as a part of the learning in the whole
yeah,
part of it, and you then literally managed to sell it to someone who then
yeah,
was interested in building it into something else. And I think that alone, it's something that I'd love to do just from that experience. I think the monetary side is kind of a bit of an arbitrary fact because it shows that
yeah,
that is possible, you know. And as soon as that, it's like, oh, that's quite interesting. Maybe I could do this
yeah,
again.
yeah. Yeah, and especially that feeling that someone wants to pay for a product that I made was really amazing. Yeah, that was, yeah, again, one of those boosts of motivation that gave me the feeling like, okay, I have to continue doing this because um, it's possible.
Yeah, there's something in this. Like I've done it
Yeah,
once, like I can do it again, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
And so, what did you go on
Um,
to after the No Code Guru?
yeah, so I announced that it was acquired on Twitter, and that tweet really blew up. Um, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was one of my first viral tweets. Got a lot of new followers from it. People started DMing me with questions, stuff like that. So I thought, there is a lot of interest. Maybe I should start a newsletter around this. And normally I'm really the kind of person that I design a logo for a day. I make a beautiful landing page and keep doubting about the copy for days. Everything has to be right. But this time I thought, okay, I'm going to do it quick and lean. And I just went to an icon website, downloaded a free icon, set up a Substack account. Substack is a platform to send newsletters, and it's really easy to use. So it's really come up with a name, create an account, and you can start writing. That's it. I really love it because it's so simple.
Yeah,
And I even didn't buy a custom domain, which is also like one of those traps
yeah, that's
that
the
you
first
always
thing that I
start with
buy.
a with
I'm so bad
which
at that.
domain name will I buy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I still struggle with that, but that time I did it. That time I did it right, and I said on Twitter, uh, I'm going to write about my story, about my exit story, um, subscribe here. And I tweeted it again. I think I posted it also under the tweet that got so many comments and replies. And I think 24 hours later, I had more than 500 subscribers.
Wow, that's
So that was
insane.
the feeling like, okay,
People are
content,
interested in this.
content market fit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and the next day I published my story, and then I was leaving on holiday for 3 weeks. So that was also, yeah, one of the motivations that urged me to keep it simple.
Yeah.
So that helped. And yeah, almost 1 month later, I was already around 1,000 subscribers. So it's it had an amazing start, the newsletter. Um, So yeah, I kept doing it. I found a lot of people on indie hackers on Twitter that also had an exit story. I published a story every week on Thursday, and now we are at 8,000 subscribers.
Wow. And how long's that it been
And
going since inception?
I started in August, so a
Wow.
year and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little
Not
bit
very long
less.
then,
Yeah,
is it? like 15
Yeah,
months or something
yeah,
like that. Not very long. Yeah, 16
yeah,
months. I mean.
yeah. And I was also traveling for 2 months, so then I published everything so that it could run on autopilot. So that was fun. That's also fun about the newsletter, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And so
Now
you've
I also, sorry to interrupt you. Now I
I'm
also
sorry.
added not only exit stories, but also stories about people making products with no code that are making money. So yeah,
So
more
how
in
do you find
general,
these
how to make
stories
money with
then?
no code. Um, on Indie Hackers, I found the first ones. And then after a while, I think I got a little bit the name of the no code exit um, woman. So when there is an exit, no code exit, I get tagged, or people DM me when they say I also have an interesting story. And I also just search a lot on the internet in no code communities and reach out to people to interview. So um, I think, yeah, it's pretty easy to convince people for an interview. A lot of interviews are also async, so that makes it like more feasible for people.
Yeah,
And like the bigger stories, so like the really successful stories, I often do the case study myself so that I research it and then write it myself instead of doing an interview.
yeah.
So yeah, good mix.
What's the biggest story you've had? So what like biggest exit that you've covered? I think that's an interesting one.
I think the biggest one is MakerPad, and MakerPad is a no-code community. They have courses. They were really the first one that were going all in on no-code, and they were acquired by Zapier, which is like a
Wow.
multi-billion company. And the tweet from the founder is that he has this Austin Martin with "Thank you, no code." So that says enough, I think.
It was a
I
small
think,
exit
yeah,
then.
a few million or something like that.
Wow. And I
Yeah,
think there is
but
this preconception that like
it are exceptions.
yeah,
Most
exactly.
stories I cover are smaller ones. Yeah,
And but I think there are the two sides. It can be anything. I think there's
yeah,
also this preconceived idea that you'd never make a something that would be massive with no code. But I think
yeah,
that there are so many things that are probably running on no code that we don't even know about, out there because
yeah,
these
for
days
sure. Yeah,
you probably wouldn't. And
yeah,
I think that's really interesting.
yeah. And it
And
doesn't matter on what it runs. It's the most important is that it brings value.
yeah,
If it's with code or no code, doesn't matter.
so with no code exits, so anyone can go on to no code exits and see stories. So if anyone wants to go and see all the stories that and different examples of people that are making money with no code or people that have built and sold things on no code, they can go to no code exits, and I'll put a link somewhere
Yeah,
as well so anyone can click and check it out. But how did you
yeah,
or how what are your plans for monetization? How do you do things like that? Because I know you have things like sponsored things on there as well. So
yeah.
how does that work for you?
I started with an info product, so it was a little resource that helped you to find good business ideas,
Oh,
and
cool.
I linked that in the footer of my newsletter, um, and that went well. It was when I still had, I think, maybe 1 or 2 thousand subscribers. So now and then there was a sale, so that was okay. Um, then I started to do sponsorships, um, and so I sell classified ads, which are short text ads, and then also more premium sponsor ads, which is like more in depth. And that is going well too. But something I learned is that I really have to invest time in that. So there are always people who reach out to you to sponsor an issue, but if you really want to make an interesting amount. You really have to put the work in it and reach out to people or to companies, send a proposal, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's also going well. And then later on, I started another product. It's now called sprints.so, and that is a product to help makers like myself or makers that are just starting to keep them accountable. So, because as we said earlier, connecting with like-minded people is so important to keep going. And we have this little Slack group where we do that, and that's also one of my products that I advertise in a newsletter and are actually a way to indirectly monetize the audience.
Oh, excellent. That's really
Yeah,
cool. And so,
yeah,
what are your future plans? Where do you see this going? I'm a massive the ADHD in me is shiny object syndrome, and I have about a million ideas, and so trying to keep on one, immediately I'm like, that's great, that's running, that sounds good. So what's next? And so how do you find a problem with
yeah.
that, or is no code exits your like main baby where you see some opportunities along the side? It's like, for me, it seems that you've got a really nice niche of no code, and the supplementary products that you're providing are equally centered around that community. So it's like, do you see that as your main distribution channel, and then you could potentially have some different products coming off that support that? Or what's the vision there?
Yeah. That's one thing I try to keep in mind when I have a shiny new idea, that it should be something that uh, might be interesting for my audience, because it is a huge advantage that I have this distribution channel that I can use. So it would be weird that I suddenly start a product for, I don't know, people in insurance or something
Yeah,
like that,
a fitness app or
because
something
then I have
randomly.
to, yeah, yeah. But it has been a huge learning curve for me, because I quit my job in February.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
in
incredible.
February. Yeah. And suddenly you have all this time, all the shiny objects popping up. So I really learned this by the hard way, that I should try to have a little bit of focus, or not jump from one idea to another and never finish anything, because that's terrible.
I can feel that pain.
So yeah, I have been more strict about this to myself, but I also get a lot of energy from starting this shiny new objects. So yeah, it's finding a balance. But no code exits is indeed my main baby, and there are months that I work a lot on it, and then there are months that it's all more just publishing and doing just enough to keep it running.
But it's nice to have that flexibility. It's that the
Yeah,
fact that you
indeed. Yeah,
can have that, and you don't have, like, the fact that you quit your job is an insane step. And I think that also it shows that I personally think it shows how much time is, like you said, you had so much time at that point, and I think it shows how much time we actually waste, or isn't effectively used in
yeah,
businesses. So we find ourselves, we're always
yeah,
busy, but if you have all of that time yourself, you can actually be more effective in
yeah,
making money that way.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah. And for no code exits, my next step is, so now it's a newsletter, and I want to that it becomes more than a newsletter, so more of a a website where you really go to get inspired by no code, and the newsletter is then part of it. So that's my big goal, and I think I will, because I keep postponing it all the time. Still a lot of question marks in my head, and then I feel like I should just start. So I think my big goal for January will be to create this new website where I publish all the stories and just get started. Um, so
It
that's
sounds really
exciting, and then I
interesting.
hope I also can get more the organic traffic and focus a little bit more on SEO stuff like that.
I think that's there are so many potential opportunities for what you have, and because it's like serving a
Yeah,
community of like-minded people. So just
yeah,
getting the fact that people want to go there in the first place, you have
yeah,
automatically the sort of people that are motivated to want to build something. You know, they, especially once they've read the stories as well, I think there's like everyone's like hyped up saying like I can do this. And so I think
yeah,
for me, my head automatically goes, because I go into them problem solving thing, and I'm like, oh, then you have the potential of showcasing different tools for no code people. You know what I mean? There's that
yeah,
whole side of it as well. And that
yeah,
whole kind of market, not necessarily marketplace, but, you know, like in terms of if you want your no code tool, doesn't have to be no code, but your tool for no code people featured, then there's those opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, it could be that
yeah,
that whole place where
yeah,
people, like you say, go inspire themselves and then can take action from that. I think that, and you've
yeah,
clearly built a really engaged community if you've grown in that way and in that short space of time. I think
yeah.
that's really inspiring.
Yeah, it's really amazing because you get these replies from people like, "Whoa, I read all the newsletters today, and I'm so inspired, and thank you." And replies like this that make it all so worth it. It's really been fun. I'm very lucky that I can run this, and I can also learn a lot from super interesting makers and share their stories. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I
very
think that's
fun.
also a real benefit of what you do is like you're in the middle, so you learn
Yeah,
from you see all the things that are happening,
yeah,
so you can constantly
yeah,
be learning about all the new things that are coming or what people have done. And so it's like automatically, and that must be inspiring for yourself as well, because you're constantly
yeah,
seeing those things. So
yeah,
you're like your own customer, like you said at the beginning. It's like you're still that customer that's like, oh, that's 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 the motivation that often keeps you going and keeps you wanting to
yeah,
push more and do more.
yeah. And the
And
funny
then
thing is that like because I'm running the a no code newsletter, people really think of me as like this super experienced, the best no code builder out there. But I am absolutely not. I'm just one of the I use all the more simple tools because you also have very powerful tools like Bubble and Flutter Flow, which have a more steep learning curve. But
yeah, I'm using Bubble at
people
the
see me
moment.
like that, and that's funny. Yeah,
But it shows. I think that's the great part about it. It's that, and I think that's what people often like. And I found this more and more that people like the relatability. You know, is that
yeah,
shows that you can do it. You don't
yeah,
need to be the expert. They may see you as the expert, but it's great to hear that, you know,
yeah,
you're one of them. You know, and so it's like, no, we're in this together. I just maybe have a little bit more experience, but I'm not the one leading courses on how to do it. You know, I'm still taking them and learning from everyone else as well. And you've just
yeah,
put something
indeed.
together
Yeah,
to help people collectively learn together and understand. So I think that's really cool.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Really, that's I love it.
It's
And you get
really
to spend the
fun.
time with your family at the same time. I think that's, you know, one
Yeah,
of the things that really motivates me to be able to have that more or freedom within my opportunities is to spend more time with my kids and stuff like that. The things that I
yeah,
think we get
yeah.
we
That was
lose when
also
we're in
one
the
of the
office.
reasons that I quit my job because I had to yeah always go to Brussels, a lot of traffic jams. I had to leave early, and I didn't see the kids in the morning. I had to travel a lot to France and Holland. So it was not a really quality life.
Yeah,
And now I'm so flexible. That's such a huge advantage if you have kids, I think.
yeah, and I think just in general, I think just get, like I said before, it's like you don't realize how much time you have when you're using it more effectively in that way. You're directly in, like, putting it into something. You can achieve way
Yeah.
more doing 4 hours a day than you
Yeah,
could
indeed.
doing 8 hours in an office. Because if you think about all the different, this everything that scales, that becomes bigger, you spend so much time in meetings, like you said, traveling. All of that just soaks your time, but doesn't necessarily equate to you earning more money. It's a time soak. And so I think
Yeah,
everyday
indeed.
people can
Yeah.
more effectively. I think these days is one of the, I try and say this to my kids, especially, 16 and 18. It's at that age, and it's like, you don't understand because it's different these days. And I'm like, you don't understand how different it was when we had zero technology, no internet, nothing. Like that was, we had to go
Crazy.
out there and earn
Yeah.
money, like face to face. Whereas now, like,
Yeah,
all of these
indeed.
tools are
Yeah.
there. It's just about, finding that problem. And I think that's something that, which is actually where my no code product that I want to build, and I am in the process of building, is focused on. You mentioned, like, focusing on the problem, and so I'm building I love lean startup and business model canvas and things like this, and so I'm building a no code business model canvas tool, so you can put in your value proposition, who your target audience is, everything like this, and it's got a GPT backend, so it gives you, like, all of the different validation tests to run to try and make sure that you do understand what your actual value proposition is. Because I think when people think, like, what is my product, they're like, I'm building this solution. And like you said, it's the thing that people focus on. It's the solution rather than the problem. And it's like, yeah, but what value
Yeah.
does it provide to a customer? Like, what do they do currently that this makes better? Or, and to
Yeah.
think about it from a value point of view. So I'm trying to equally think about, how can I create tools for people that would help them build stuff. Like, so this is my whole thing. It's like, how can I showcase stories like yours, plus provide some tools that help people do the same thing, and give them more chance of success, so they don't get wed on this, I must have the best logo, I must build something really cool, but focus on
That's
actually what the
amazing.
problem is and
Yeah.
who I'm selling to in the first place.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Well,
Curious to
hopefully,
see it when it's finished.
yeah, I'll definitely send it to you. I'm in the
Yeah.
testing phase at the moment, but like you said,
Yeah.
um, I'm using Bubble, and I there are so many options that you can do. The tool is so fantastically powerful. You
Yeah.
can do anything. It can be a mobile app, it can be a web app, it can be anything. I
Yeah.
could literally make anything, and the integrations now on Bubble are insane. So I love, because I work in the corporate world as well, I love things like product analytics and stuff like that, to make sure that I understand how customers are using the tools, so I can
Nice.
make sure to
Yeah.
see what drop-offs are and stuff like that. So I think this is something that I feel that so many of the indie community could benefit from, in terms of, just, I want to do a whole session on, like, product analytics, because it's like, just understanding where the drop-off is within your site or your product, or how you
Oh,
can
super
make
interesting. Yeah.
changes to improve them. And I think there are tools. There's a big corporate company called Amplitude, and I would say, the Google Analytics of product analytics, but they're kind of better than that. And they offer a free tier as well. And it became a joke
Yeah.
because I kept talking about them, and they tagged me, and they were like, and someone reached out to me and were like, we should start offering you commission, because I kept banging on about it. And I'm like, no, but genuinely, like, as a someone building something for, like, you want to do it for free, so they offer this whole free tier that you can implement. And Bubble has a plugin for Amplitude as well, so you can literally,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can then start to see exactly where you get drop off within your products, and all these sorts of things that you can then go,
Super
oh
interesting.
yeah, so then you can start to think, all the changes I'm going to make are not just features that people have requested, but I can see where they're going to have an impact, and you can measure them. So I love that
Yeah.
sort of thing. That's like, I proper geek out and stuff like that. So I love Bubble for that point of view, that they have so many different integrations and plugins that are free as well. So, like, I've got my Stripe integration, I've got my
Yeah.
Amplitude one. I'm creating a feature at the moment to be able to export the whole business model as a business plan, so people can export it as,
Whoa,
like, a
nice.
business plan as well. And there's a plugin as well for exporting to PDF. So, like, all of these sorts of things, they're super, in my head, I'm like, that's pretty technical. And then as soon as I start to dig into it, I'm like, oh, I can create a plugin. There's a plugin
It's
that I can just
feasible.
integrate to do
Yeah.
it. And that's what I love
Nice.
about no code. It's
Yeah.
like, if I was going to build this as a full web app, or get someone to build it, I'd create this whole statement of work, and I'd go out, and then I'd have to find someone on Upwork or someone like that. And it would cost me,
Yeah.
thousands to get these sorts of
Yeah.
features done. But now it's just like, oh, you can install this plugin and you can just make it grab the data and then you've got a PDF.
And it's
Oh no,
much
that's
more
insane.
fun to make it yourself too.
Yeah, it's like I did
Yeah,
that. I made this
yeah,
whole thing, and I think that that's the thing. Seeing your thing come to life as well. I think that's
yeah.
super cool. So yeah,
Wow, cool.
it's
Yeah,
been an
yeah,
experience. I'm still learning. I
yeah.
still click on things and think, well, why is this in this position now? I don't know how I got there. So it is a
It's
learn,
also on
but
my list to learn Bubble, but I'm sometimes a bit, yeah, if I see what people tweet about, like, yeah, settings in Bubble or stuff, then I'm sometimes overwhelmed. So yeah, I will see, but I really want to learn it.
I
I
just
hear
think
so
that
much good
yeah,
stuff.
it's fantastic. And like I said, I've been able to even integrate because the backend is a GPT backend, so that's how it obviously validates all the data and stuff like that and gives you the tests. So I
Yeah,
can set the prompts exactly how I want it to be. That's super easy. So I can say, you are my AI expert in, my co-founder. This is what we're doing, and
yeah,
so I set the context, and it does everything, and it asks me all the questions until it gets to a point. And again, this is just full through integrations, and so from an integration point, I think that's where I really think it's super interesting, just from ease of doing that. For me, I wouldn't know where to start if it wasn't for being able to do this off the shelf. Like
yeah,
even yeah, and so I'm getting to learn the more. I'd say it's the easier side, but I find it more complicated, which is the interface side of things. Like I don't mind doing Figma designs and stuff like that, but making that a reality in Bubble, that's been a harder learn to make it exactly how I
yeah,
want compared to doing the
yeah,
integrations. Like the
yeah,
integrations, I think are just like incredible, like super powerful, and I think you
yeah,
could probably build any tool that you wanted to within there. Like the next feature I'm trying to get to as well, but again, this is like I need to launch it first, so I'm not. This is like V2 or something. I'm not going to get stuck into
yeah.
this, but it's
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
exactly. I know, and this is the whole thing. It's like, okay, how do I do something? So like, I want to do the PDF thing, so I think that's super valuable. But then there'll be another like um, upsell as well. So if you want to export it as a pitch deck, so like a 10 slide pitch deck where it takes all of the data and puts it into your problem, market, solution, etc., etc. So it puts it into a 10 slide pitch deck, so you can export it as a full like investor deck sort of thing. So if you do want to try and raise money from your idea or whatever it might be, then you have a pitch deck as well.
Wow,
And all of this
nice.
is completely possible too. So little things like that, you just think we live in such a crazy world where this would be just so much work. Imagine, like you said it previously, going to your company. If I went to my company and asked them to develop something even similar to this, they'd be like, "Yeah, we're probably going to take about 18 months to deliver the first version of this."
If there are no other priorities
And
popping
there's
up.
always another priority.
Yeah,
It'll be like
yeah,
something else. I have this at work so often. I see the
yeah,
engineering teams and I look at the time to deliver value, and this is a big thing that I am trying to get more maturity on. So I work in my role is in product excellence, so it's trying to get a better product experience. So it's trying to get more efficiency out of products. So it's for me, it's
yeah.
all about how can we reduce our cycle times, because again, it's like the time to value is so different from what I'm used to in like startups. Time to value, like
Oh,
in startups,
yeah,
like you said, it's like 2 weeks for you was well, like, but to get to that whole product that you used for 2 years. And we're still on like, oh, we might create some value in 6 months maybe,
yeah.
but it
That's
will be a tiny bit. So we actually need a year to,
yeah,
and it's crazy what you can do. And I think that companies could learn so much from that, just generally this sort of community or these communities in terms of
yeah,
speed and agility.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's a point that a lot of big organizations struggle with.
Yeah, I wish they had more. I wish there was like an internal role that just did this. You know what I mean? Like you said
Yeah,
you did innovation, but it's purely to bring the outside
yeah,
world inside. So to try
yeah,
and help them learn from all
yeah,
these things that were going on, and say
yeah,
you can keep your best practices and stuff, but like almost like like a side on incubator that just says we can spin up stuff super fast, and if it provides value, then you can say, okay, well, how do we bring it inside to make it more fitting
yeah,
for your environment? But like, how do we fail fast, basically, in silos? I think that would be really
yeah.
cool.
I must say that in my to my newsletter, there are also a lot of people that subscribe are engineers who really want to learn to build faster with no
Wow.
code. And I
That's
think that is
that's
super
really interesting.
powerful. Yeah, if you have that technical background, and then you go for the more advanced tools, which are for them pretty easy to learn. If you go
Yeah.
for Bubble or Toddle or Flutterflow 2, I think. And then yeah, they can go super fast and learn fast instead of building for 3 months and
That
not
is really
knowing.
interesting.
Yeah,
And I do
and
think
also
that,
an interesting point is that also the no-code tools are also all focusing more on these business use cases where the no-code
interesting.
tools can be used by the marketing department to build these tiny solutions for
Yeah, like you said, the
themselves.
internal tools that the
Yeah,
company doesn't
yeah,
have
so that the
engineering resources
engineering
for.
team can focus on the more
Yeah,
impactful
core
work.
value or whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah,
But that is super
and it's
interesting
of
about the
course also
engineers.
where the money is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it.
Yeah,
They don't see, and this is where I see it in corporates as well. It's like their focus is on obviously their key value, and the value is to drive revenue. And this
yeah,
is like a secondary or tertiary value because you're improving productivity or making things easier internally, but that's not directly linked to revenue
yeah,
generation. So then it's like it's deprioritized because of that, because obviously
yeah,
you're going to put
indeed.
the priority in terms of the core value there.
Yeah, yeah,
That's super interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting space for going forwards as well to see how companies do embrace this sort of
yeah,
technology, like you said, for spinning up or
yeah,
validating or invalidating their ideas quickly. And
yeah,
I do think that's a super interesting thing about
yeah.
the engineers. And I
And
think engineers often struggle with this.
yeah, and a few interviews ago, there was someone who built an MVP with no code, and then they had their first users, and like that they could find funding because they could really show, look, we already have a prototype that's working, we have users that are interested, and like that they could convince investors to fund in them.
Yeah,
So
I think
that's
that's
also
a
interesting
great
use
one.
case. Yeah, and another one is that um, a solo maker building their own product, really validating the ID, and then look for a technical co-founder to level up and make a custom solution. But then it's easier to find a technical co-founder because you can show, look, we already have paying users with the MVP. There is interest. I know what the users need and wants, and what the features should be.
I think
So
it's a great way to
yeah,
validate without having to,
yeah,
as to my point about the whole business model canvas as well. It's like that's often something you need to do to validate the product market fit to see is
yeah,
there anything within this idea as well without having to pay for this whole solution to be built. And I think doing it yourself in that way, I think it probably focuses you more on the core functionality of the problem you're solving. Whereas if you get
yeah,
someone else to do it, an engineer isn't focused on that. They're focused on, you've told me to build all these things, so I'm going to build all these things.
yeah,
And so when
indeed.
you're doing it and you're building it, it's like, oh, do I really need this extra thing that's going to take this time? Is that really related to what I want,
Yeah,
like the problem I'm
it's a good
solving?
exercise to
Yeah,
see
and
what's
that's
important.
really
Yeah,
interesting. I didn't think about that.
yeah,
Oh, it's fantastic. I honestly have loved hearing your journey, and I think it does show so
thank you.
much that anyone can do this, and you don't have to be a developer, a technical person. And
No,
what you did was focus on a problem that you wanted to solve, and and built something quickly. I think that's it, and
yeah,
I think it's really impressive. So I'm looking forward to following more of your journey. I have obviously subscribed to No Code Exits,
that's
and I
good.
do find myself on there as well. I'd love it for, again, it's the motivations. I really love it. So yeah, I will
Yeah,
put a link in the description about to No Code
yeah,
Exits. Anyone wants to get any motivation to see what other people have built, I think, and what's
yeah,
possible. I think a lot of people don't think it is possible, and it goes to show that there's an entire community behind this sort of model and how people are making a living from
yeah,
building and selling no code solutions as generalists, as I'd say.
yeah. And even something the CEO of acquire.com shared, and also yesterday I heard it again from another founder of an acquisition platform, is that buyers are really looking for no-code products because it means that if you are a non-technical buyer and you can take over a product without that you have to hire an expensive engineer to improve the product or build extra features, but that you can do it yourself, that's a huge advantage for them, and it lowers the risk that their investment will pay off.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to build to exit.
That's a really cool thing, build to exit. I like that.
Yeah,
I think that that's a lot what a lot of people try to do with the old model of like raising money, but it's shortened the time scale. And obviously it doesn't necessarily have to be the billions that people were aiming for in the in the old model of raising VC money, like I want to build this $1 billion company, but
yeah,
it's completely shortened that cycle of build to exit, of being able to say,
yeah,
I can build something and exit as me sitting at home with my kids, and that I can make a living
yeah,
from,
yeah.
which is insane.
And there are people who are good in going from ID to working product with a few paying users. And then there are people that are better in scaling it and growing it and doing the marketing. So um, yeah, I think it's perfectly fine if you like to go from 0 to 1, but not so much the part after that
And I do
to
think it
grow
is a
it.
skill set, like you
Yeah,
said. I think that scaling part is a completely different skill set
yeah,
to the initial start. I think that, like you said, there are people that
yeah,
have both, but I think they're more rare to find those people that can build and scale. I think you often have the people that are the ideators that are great at bringing something to life, and
yeah,
then just being able to build on that is completely different. So
yeah,
it's
indeed.
good that there are two
Yeah,
sorts of people like that, because it creates this market in the first place.
yeah,
Well, excellent.
yeah.
Well, thanks very much for being here, Kat. Like I said, I'll put all of your links in the description so everyone can
Thanks a
check
lot.
out all of your stuff, get motivated. And if anyone
Yeah,
wants to find out anything more, just check out the links in the description. And hope this has motivated you to show you that anyone can build anything and make a living from
yeah,
it while
yeah.
being
And I
anywhere in the
hope I
world.
can interview everyone in the future about their exit.
Exactly. That's got to be motivation enough.
Yeah,
It's that you
yeah.
can be featured
So
on no code exits.
yeah,
That's it.
they
Like
can reach out to me and
just tag, it's like that's pure motivation right there.
yeah,
Tag you in a tweet saying this is my exit, and there we
yeah,
go, like it's done,
yeah. That
successful.
would be perfect. Yeah,
Amazing. Well, thanks very much,
yeah,
Kat. I really appreciate it, and thanks to everyone for watching. I just want to say thanks to Kat for the interview. I really, really did enjoy speaking to you on this. I really do want to try and promote the fact that everyone can change their own life and reach that financial freedom, whatever that freedom is for you. And it's not just about using your money better, it's also about being able to make it in a different way as well. We spend 8 hours a day most of the time, sometimes more, working for somebody else when we can use that time in a much more efficient way. So if you liked this, please share it with someone that you think this could be inspirational to as well. Don't forget to like the video, drop me a comment of other things or things that you'd like to do. Join my Discord. I'd love to try and get as many people in there as possible that are trying to do this thing. So it's everything I'll put in the link in the description. Discord is realtalk.business/Discord. Subscribe to the channel, share the video with your nan, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.